Hello, welcome to this very special episode of Lord Havoc's Marvel Champions custom content stream extravaganza. I'm actually not streaming. I've decided to do a special series on the channel called Creator Spotlight. Very fancy name. Because quite often when I'm doing the stream and I'm looking at custom content, I mention the creator, of course, and I'll often have a comment like there's the Discord server is full of creative people and talented people and everybody like creating custom content and stuff. And I thought, what better way to highlight that fact than to actually speak to the creators themselves? I've actually had some creators on the stream with me, and it's always been a blast when they're on because we're usually playing one of their creations, and it's we get to sort of I get to sort of get a bit of an insight into their brains, right, and like why they do what they did in with that particular that particular hero, and that sort of stuff. So I thought it was pretty cool. So I thought, why instead of the only sort of downside to that was playing the game and talking at the same time didn't really work because you're trying to concentrate and play the game, and I'm not a good enough player to be able to talk and play at the same time. I've got to be like actually concentrate on what I'm doing. And so it just sort of didn't really work that very well. So I thought, well, let's do it this way. We'll do it in sort of an interview type way. And the very first cab off the rank, as they say, is young Manny. Man-3 as it appears on screen, but apparently it's Manny because I'm a boomer. I don't know these things. How you doing?
Hey there, Havoc. How's it going?
I'm doing good. Thank you very much for joining for this series and for being my first one, my guinea pig, as it were. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, man.
So yeah, so I just want this to be just like a chat. Like, let's just have a chat about what it is that you do. Instead of me introducing you, how I would like if you could introduce yourself.
Sure. As you guys know, I'm Manny, or Man-3 is my display name. Um, I'm just one of the many faces in the community. Usually, you guys see me either hosting the weekly prompt rotations or cleaning up art on the art request channel. Um, I've been making custom content for I think a little bit over a year now. It's been a blast. The community's been so awesome. They make a whole bunch of cool stuff. Like it, honestly, I think I joined the homebrew community before I joined the other Marvel Champion, the one that's more focused on uh, like the official Marvel Champions
Mm,
content.
mm. That's
Um,
cool. That is.
yeah, man, it's been a blast.
You are. I don't want to. I don't want to embarrass you, but it's you are a real inspiration to me. It's your the just how helpful you are to everyone is just amazing. Like you mentioned the art request thing. That's obviously where your talents lie, like graphical type stuff. Quite often, people will ask you for sort of like design ideas and stuff, and you'll help out with that sort of stuff. But also the art request thing. The art request channel is where people will post images that they want cleaned up, like having the text box removed and that sort of stuff. The image extended and stuff. And Man-3 or Manny, I'm sorry, I'm gonna keep calling you Man-3 by accident.
No,
I'm sorry.
you can call me Man-3. That's
I'm
fine.
just gonna call you Man. Hey Man. Yeah, is quite popular there, but viewers of my channel will know you best as the creator of Rek-Rap. So we're actually on Manny's TTS mod here, and it looks kind of sparse, but this doesn't indicate just how helpful Man's been to other creators, myself included, in terms of like advice and just being a generally cool dude. But like I said, this the Rek-Rap has featured on the show before, and God, I love this character so much. I just love him. I
I
just
do.
absolutely love him. I actually knew nothing about the character in the comics because I've sort of given up reading comics. But um, when I saw this particular hero, I just thought it was pretty amazing. But there's some controversy. There's some controversy here, folks. Manny's changed Rek-Rap's mechanic.
Yeah.
Please explain yourself, sir.
Okay. So originally, if anybody doesn't remember what Rek-Rap used to do, before Rek-Rap used to exhaust to use his basic powers instead of readying. Or, oops, sorry, backwards.
Yeah,
Already
backwards.
messed up. Rek-Rap used to exhaust to use his basic powers. Ready to use his basic powers instead of exhausting.
And this is why he changed it,
So
folks. This is a good indication for why he changed it. He can't even describe it
exactly why
himself.
I changed it. It's very confusing.
Yeah.
The biggest problem with the effect is that you have to create a secondary effect that lets him essentially ready, or else he's just kind of stuck, exhausted, and he can't do anything. That was the first challenge that I overcame with the discard a random card at the end of each phase, which gave him the opportunity to ready multiple times at the cost of a card every time. And it wasn't a card you got to choose. So I felt like that was a cost that could kind of offset it. And that's why his hand size originally was six.
Right.
Because if you wanted to use him as normal, you had to get rid of a card to go back to down to normal hero size. And
Yeah.
if you wanted to ready again, then you had to go down to four.
Yeah.
Was the mentality behind it. The biggest issues I ran into after I let it go into the creator or the the creator spotlight. What was it?
The certification.
The community
Yeah,
approves. Yeah,
community approval system. Yeah.
exactly. After going through there, granted, I didn't expect him to get put, nominated to put in there.
I
At
nominated him.
first. Well, I mean, I didn't. He wasn't complete. He was missing a nemesis set, and um, he wasn't quite. I mean, he was in a place where for my first creation, I was like, this is kind of cool. It does something different. It flips the game a little bit. It is a little bit complicated, but at the same time, he was a little bit all over the place
Right.
when I first had him. The initial problem being, him being able to exhaust to be ready is in leadership, he was just busted. He was just, with go all out and things like that. And I actually modeled his abilities originally around go all out with his events and things like that.
Yep.
I kind of leaned into it, but after a while, after it went through, the testing and everything, a lot of the feedback I got back, was a lot. I got a lot of positive feedback, and it was great. A lot of it was, that he was kind of only really good in certain aspects. In protection, he just couldn't use anything just because of the nature of how he works.
Yep.
In justice, he really didn't have a lot of stuff to lean into. I don't think he was a web warrior. I can't remember if he was a web
I don't
warrior
think he
when he went
was.
into Texas.
No, I don't think he was.
So he was completely locked out of the whole web warrior kit, which injustice and protection is something that you could build into. So that's why he's kind of different now.
Gotcha. Well,
Well,
I've still got the original version on my drive. I'm going to keep it forever.
I'm sure I've got it too. Let me see. I can't open objects in here.
Oh, okay. The options. There you go. Promote. Boom. There you go.
So, I think it's this one.
I'm keeping the original version. I actually I still like the new version. But
this is the original, right?
Yeah, he's a mechanic. I mean, look at look at the way the art's designed. So that because he has to.
I know. I loved that. That was.
It was so good.
It was. I mean, I wish I could have made it work. It's partially that I wanted to simplify him, and I couldn't really make it work in the current ecosystem of cards.
Yeah.
He just really couldn't. He didn't really have a very much interest. Yeah, he didn't have very interesting deck building, and that was my biggest problem with it. It's you just kind of ran the stuff that he really wanted to run. If you were playing Justice, you always ran the disguise. You always ran
the disguise,
and he has his own disguise.
Yeah, but, he has his own disguise.
But I think the new one's a little bit more interesting, at least when it comes to deck building. Now he has his Rek-Rap symbiote is a setup upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
So it comes into play. And what it does is anytime you discard a random card from your hand, while Rek-Rap's in hero form, you can attach it to the Rek-Rap symbiote. So basically, he creates a safety net for random discards, and he
Mm.
has a bunch of them.
That's cool. Yeah, I like it.
So with those random discards, he has a lot of upgrades that kind of play off of what they do.
Mm.
Um, so like Spider-Man, for example, when he's attached to the symbiote, it reduces his cost by 1 for each card that's attached to it. So if
Mm.
you have 3 cards, which is the maximum you can have, you can play him for free from the symbiote.
Awesome.
Um,
I'll
on
definitely, I'll
top of,
definitely, I'll definitely be featuring him on the stream at some point. The new version.
oh man, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, I cry over the old version, but I'll still feature the
I,
new version.
I feel it, man.
Maybe one day you can go back to and use that mechanic in a different hero. Maybe.
I'd like to re-explore it for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, there's definitely room for it, but there has to be. It's a very specific kind of like needle that you've got to thread.
Yeah.
You've got to make sure that there's a way for your character to go back into ready state at the end, so that you're not just playing at disadvantage. Because I mean, with Hulk, yeah, you're losing your hand, but at least you can still attack. With Rek-Rap, if he doesn't have anything that lets him ready, or exhaust or whatever, he would be stuck in ready state unless he flipped over to exhaust and then flip, and you're at it. It's just bad.
Yeah. So you got some other Spidey related heroes as well. You got Spider Man. Is this the Ultimate Spider Man?
This is the Ultimate
Yeah,
Spider-Man.
Ultimate. So it's the new Ultimate Spider Man. This has confused me so much. This new Ultimate Universe because I'm a big fan of the terrible, terrible original Ultimate Universe. Oh my god, it was so
Mhm.
bad, but I loved it because it was so bad. It was awesome, and so I've made a bunch of characters based on that universe, and now this new one's come out. And I'm like, well, now what do I do with mine? There's a whole bunch of
Well,
ultimate
you
new
keep
ultimate
it
universe.
around.
They're still around,
Like
but
that's the beauty of this custom content stuff, is like a lot of this stuff can coexist. I think there's like another Ultimate Spider-Man that's around too.
yeah,
So
is Dipson's? I think Dipson's got a
Dip,
ultimate.
Dipson, yeah,
This
they're
version.
putting out a bunch of stuff.
But he's putting out
It's
a
pretty cool.
bunch of ultimate stuff. He loves this new ultimate universe, and although that
Yeah,
being said, I do like the new ultimate Spidey. I actually think he's pretty cool.
I,
So,
I like the storyline. I
yeah.
think, which I mean, I'm a fan of Jonathan Hickman. He makes some pretty good stuff.
Hmm. And your other Spidey character is actually your first one. So Scarlet Spider, which is a collab with Kami. So go back to your collabs. I like how you got your collabs on the side. I love these custom collab nameplates. These are awesome.
Yeah,
So you got one with Kami, Scarlet Spider, and this is your first one. Tell us a little bit about this one.
yeah. So back before I even started like making stuff, I don't know. Like whenever you're making custom content for like the first time, it's
Daunting.
uh, it's it's daunting, very daunting, especially when you're seeing like people that put out really cool stuff in the
Yeah,
community,
yeah,
and
yeah. You
it's
just want to
like,
make a fool of
man,
yourself.
right? But I mean, it's better for you to try, and it's getting better at something is just a matter of doing it over and over and over again.
Hmm.
And when you're starting out, it's going to come out bad. There's going to be mistakes, and then I'm glad we have members of the community that come together and help people with wording and things like that, because starting out, you don't know any better. You're like, oh
Yeah.
man, let me.
Thank God for a shout out
But
to Viral for that sort of stuff.
yes,
Yeah,
100%,
bloody
they are a
legends.
gem.
Yeah, they're awesome.
But
And what? And did Kami reach out to you to assist you with some stuff, or is this? Did you? Is it, what's the history there? Did you put Scarlet Spider out, and so Kami sort of contacted you?
that is a good question. Honestly, I can't remember who contacted who first. Um, I want to say I helped him clean up some stuff in Art West. So I can't
Uh,
remember. I feel so bad. It's like only been like a year. It's not even like it's that far away. Just so much has happened.
that's fun.
Um, but he, I think I was talking to him about, he'd asked me, I think it was about it, why haven't I made anything, or I couldn't tell you honestly. But he was telling me about some of the stuff that he was working on. And he mentioned Scarlet Spider, and I was like, man, I was wanting to build a Scarlet Spider because I'd had my eye on it. I've been reading that particular run of Spider-Man. It's
Yeah.
Ben Riley Scarlet Spider, I think,
Yeah.
and it's basically a run where he's like in Las Vegas, and um, he's coming to terms with all the being a clone and stuff, and
Mm.
there's all kinds of stuff going on. But the art is really cool. It's one of the only comic runs that have a modern like art for that particular costume.
Yeah.
Um, and so I was like, man, I can get you the art together, and if you want to put it together, because I was new. Whenever you're new to the game, if you haven't played it a lot, you don't know what's possible
Yes.
because if you haven't experienced the breadth of like all the cards, because I mean it's one thing to read cards,
Mm.
but it's another thing to play them in context.
Yeah.
um and me personally, for me, making the art, like fitting the art and cleaning it up and making it look nice, is a lot easier. Like I don't have to use as much thought compared to coming up with mechanics and then trying to tie mechanics to artwork to theme. It's all like a really intricate kind of thing, and that's what makes me appreciate people's all the vast art, heroes and stuff that's out there, because
Mm.
like people really sit there and come together with these ideas and really dig deep and come up with some cool stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the stuff that the official content's cool and all, but I feel like the stuff that comes out of like the custom community is just some really creative stuff. Like,
Oh, I'm going to back that up 100%. Some of the custom content that I've seen, it far outstrips the official stuff. That's one of my biggest complaints about the CAS system is when you get feedback about art, and it's like this art
yeah,
doesn't match,
yeah.
and
Well, I mean, you look at
sometimes I
the
understand, sometimes I get it, but it when you've got a character that's 60 years old and you've got like I'm kind of old school. I kind of like having art from different time periods to sort of show the journey, but there are some that are the
Mhm.
purists and only want the art from a certain time period or even a certain run, to sort of make it all cohesive. And I get that.
Yeah.
Actually, I do appreciate it when I see something like this. Your stuff always looks amazing. I mean, just look at this. It's just amazing. And you're obviously very talented in that sort of area and that sort of stuff. But sometimes, man, I just want when I made Dazzler, I wanted to have the Disco Dazzler in there at some point just because it's awesome. But
Yeah.
some people sort of frown upon that sort of stuff. But it is what it is.
I
But
mean, at the
in
end of
terms of the
at the
verse,
end
the
of the
new
day,
stuff, the official stuff, some of the official stuff is just awful. But a lot of the custom
when it
stuff
comes
is
to
just,
art
yeah.
selection,
In
yeah,
terms of art selection, like, my God, what were they thinking?
I mean, it really depends because I
Yeah,
mean, a lot of the stuff it's bad art choices when it comes to picks. But I mean, bad is really subjective. I mean,
that's true. Yeah,
I don't know what kind of access they have to artwork because being an official product, you have restraints that you have to adhere to
mm-hmm,
whenever
mm-hmm.
you're releasing this kind of stuff. For us, I mean, this is just for fun. We're
Yeah,
taking whatever and putting it on there, and it's more of an exercise than for us to create something that makes money.
yeah,
Granted, and that's what I like about this whole deal. It's a creative playground for people to just enjoy something that may not be going as fast as they want it to go, or
yeah,
include characters that they want, because I'm sure that, like I said, they're tied to certain restraints. They can only release certain characters at
yeah,
certain times due to licensing or because of movies or whatever.
yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Um, so I, that that's
And
what I like about this.
yeah.
It's that freedom of expression, I guess, is what it boils down to.
And is that what
Because
got you into
my
what sort of
Spider-Man.
got you into customs?
What really got me into customs was yeah, I guess so. My first custom were some alternate arts for the villains.
Cool.
I had made um I think back in 2023 my first. alternate arts were a Magneto altar, and it was I was going with this idea of every stage has a different art piece to represent the progression of the fight. So whenever you like, I don't know if I can upload anything on here. Actually, I don't even think I have the raw files. I have the post on Discord somewhere, but
Right.
um, each art had different levels of like what's the word, desperation is what I was looking for when it
Right.
came to different art pieces.
Okay.
So that like when you're at stage one, you're the villain was more composed. Stage two, they're a little bit okay, and then stage three, they're desperate.
Oh, I love it.
Um, let me find it right quick, and I'll send it to you over Discord.
That'd be awesome.
Um, Here they are.
This is the sort of thing that I'm talking about. Just the level of creativity out of the creators on this Discord. It blows me away every time. Just some of the stuff they come up with. I mean, just that very idea. I mean, it just makes perfect sense. Why does the official game not do that? It's absolutely awesome idea.
Yeah, I agree, and I also feel like I wish they would give you um, the stages like each stage cards double sided. So like I don't have to sift between stage one and two. Stage one and two are on the same card,
Yeah.
and then stage two and three, if you're playing expert, are on the same card. Uh, I feel like you would save so much card space with that. But I
Do you
also
know that is actually originally how it was designed?
really,
Yeah.
man, I wonder what made them change it.
Yeah. That was the original design. But they went back to the previous one because most of the creators were from the Lord of the Rings LCG, and that's how they do it.
I
But
feel
I,
it.
I, I agree with you, man. It would have made a lot more sense.
Let's
So have you got a favorite custom of your own?
I really like this. This Spider-Man's really fun. I I think it's really fun. Honestly, I've
He is.
tested him a good handful of times, um, and basically he's Spider-Man, like the official Spider-Man, but
Mm.
not really.
Mm.
A lot of his cards are very similar to the official Spider-Man's kit,
Yep.
minus a handful. He has a lot of supports.
I love the fact that it really leans into the theme of the comic and uses the persona supports. Like one of my favorite ones is um, Mary Jane. You've got to get home to Mary Jane,
Yeah.
which I think is just awesome. And what's his obligation? His obligation is getting home to dinner or something. Like it's
No, it's
oh no,
quality
quality
time.
time.
You got to
Yeah,
spend
quality
time
time
with
with
the
the family.
family.
Yeah, which is I
It
love it. I mean,
it's rough
obligations quite
though.
often are like a quite depressing. They're like horrible themes. It's just people quite often lean into the sort of horribleness of obligations, whereas yours
Yeah.
is just a really fun thematic, ultimate Spidey sort of theme. It's like I've got to make sure I've got quality time with the family. I love it. It's great.
Got to keep up those relationships, man. It's
Yeah,
important.
yeah, exactly right. No, I love it. It's great stuff. You also get
Uh,
quite a lot of buzz out of your sister Grimm.
yeah. Well,
That's getting a
see,
lot of feedback.
I for these designs, I primarily do play testing and the artwork. So a lot of this stuff is Mashman's creations. Like these are a lot of his ideas, and they're really cool.
So with Scarlet Spider, was that mainly your idea and Kami's input?
Um, this was more Carmi did a lot of the heavy lifting. When
Right,
I try to do collaborations, I like to focus more on the artwork.
right.
It makes it easier for me to keep them cohesive. I'll make suggestions based on like if we're finding art pieces that don't match up with names and stuff. We'll try and reconcile names and things like that. But for the most part, when it comes to effects, I merely provide suggestions.
Gotcha.
Um,
Okay.
Sometimes like if I see a really good idea with something, I'm like, hey, what if it was like this?
Yeah.
And that's generally how collaborations go. We all have responsibilities.
Yeah.
Nashman's incredibly organized with how he organizes his artwork, or not his artwork, but his card information. He creates spreadsheets
Yep.
with each card, so you can get an idea of the overall deck. That gives me a good idea of what kind of art to look for
That's funny.
when I
Actually,
get them.
I do the same thing with my customs. I have like a Word document that I put all the cards in and sort of make sure it all makes sense and stuff. And when I was in the review thing, one of the comments that I got back was a pretty funny comment. It looks the character's interesting, but it feels like they worked off a spreadsheet. I'm like, what? that's exactly what I
that
do.
noticeable?
Is that a bad thing?
No.
That person actually reached out and it's like, I was like, was that meant to be a negative comment? Like, I was like, I don't get it. I don't quite understand it. And we had a bit of a discussion about it, which I thought was pretty interesting. And I was like, you're so right. That's exactly what I do. Anyway, it's fun.
I just sent you over those.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I'll check him out. That's awesome. Actually, funnily enough, Kami helped me. Kami is for those who are new to the channel, Kami is the head mod of the Discord.
Yep.
The mod was originally created by Odysseus, but Kami is now the head mod and is the one that's driving sort of like the server changes in order to sort of like streamline things and make things a little bit better and stuff. Does an amazing job, an absolutely amazing job, and is even though they are, or he is incredibly busy in like real life. And doing the Discord stuff, is always happy to reach out and like have a talk and stuff like that. Like I messaged him just the other day. And it's just an amazing person. They actually helped me out with my Mary Marvel character, and didn't want credit. I was like basically revamped Mary Marvel for me, so it actually made sense. But didn't. I was like, well, should I put your name on the card? And I was like, nah, it's all good. And I was like, that's the sort of thing I'm talking about. It's just the generosity that Kami brings is amazing. There you go. All right. So, have you got any future projects? Have you got any like spoilers or something percolating in your brain?
Well, I have been reading a new Batman comic. I don't know if it's new, but I guess it's new because it came out recently. It came out a couple of years ago, I think. It's called The Batman.
Oh, Batman.
And it's based on. Let me see if I can get that name.
Is it the one where he's like jacked and he's got like an axe?
No. This is. It's called The Batman First Night.
First Night. Okay, yeah, cool.
Have you seen it?
Yep.
Oh man, so I'm working on something with that.
Interesting.
And I haven't quite decided mechanically how he's going to work just yet.
Yep.
But right now, I've got the idea right now I'm messing with is a mixture of Black Widow and Black Panther.
Ooh.
So he'll have upgrades that trigger after you resolve preparations.
Wow.
They don't trigger. I'm not intending them to trigger like Black Panther, where you do an order or whatever.
Yeah.
You'll only get to trigger one, but you'll have multiple upgrades that you can trigger that give you kind of a flexibility.
Cool.
Like Black Widow's hero ability is whenever after you resolve a preparation, she does 2 damage, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So with this, a Batarang would be one of the upgrades that I have for him. It'll be a tech weapon, so it'll be stuff that you can utilize with stuff like
Fusillade.
I can't remember it.
Yeah.
Fusillade.
And mean swing and stuff like that.
And mean swing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He'll, whenever you resolve preparations, he'll be able to trigger his Batarang. Or I think he has like a poison gas thing that I've got art for. There's a grappling hook. There's a couple of things that I've been looking at.
Gotta have the grappling hook. Ah, cool.
Right. So that's something I've been looking at. But my next project's a DC project for sure.
Let me ask you something then. This is a question I really want to get all of you guys and girls to answer in this spotlight series. Is there's already Batmans, right? There's already custom creation, custom Batmans out there, right? And now you've got this cool idea for one, and it is cool. I'm looking forward to it. At any point do you sort of what's the sort of process? Do you feel intimidated that there's already Batmans out there and some of them are actually quite good? Do you go check them out and sort of make sure you're not copying anything by accident, or do you abstain completely? Like, I'm not going to look at them. I want to just sort of focus on what I'm doing. What's the sort of process?
So when it comes to like heroes that are already made, I it is, intimidating at first because you don't want to be the feeling is that you don't want to step on people's toes. It's like you don't want to steal people's spotlight. But I mean, that I feel like that's not quite the mentality you want to go about it. Because it's not about being. It's like, hey, here's my Batman, and it's the best Batman. I feel like when it comes to there being different ones, I feel like.
It's a tough one, isn't it? It's a tough one.
It's a tough one because I mean, people put in a lot of work when it comes to creating these heroes and creating content for the game. Yeah. It's a lot of effort that's being put in, and sometimes, whenever it's not recognized, you feel, I don't know, I don't want to say slighted, but like it's like you feel like your effort isn't providing you any kind of like nobody's checking it out.
Yeah. We all want that dopamine hit.
Right. We make these things because we want to see something in the world. It's not there, so we want it to be there, and there it is.
Yep.
And like whenever it's already there, it's kind of like you're like, oh well, you don't want to feel like, well, I did it better. I mean, it's not even, I think the idea is that if you're doing something, even if it's similar to somebody else's design, it's your design. Like you put it together. It's got pieces of you in it when it comes to art choices, design, when it comes to how you go about putting together like obligations and things like that. Like all of that is you you're still putting work into that. And even if it's because when it comes to the design space, the unfortunate truth is that there's only so much you can do before you have to start creating your own rules. And a lot of heroes do that, and that's really where a lot of the creativity comes out, is when the current landscape has been exhausted when it comes to mechanical stuff. There's only so many ways that you can deal 3 damage.
Yes.
Eventually, it gets to a point where you have to do some other stuff. It's like, okay, well, I need to create some hoops that I can jump through, and those hoops are what get me those 3 damage, or but it's a lot of, I don't know, I feel like you shouldn't be intimidated to create something that's already been made, because just because it's been made doesn't mean you can't make something different.
That's right. You've got your sort of unique voice behind it. I don't know if this is the right way to do it, but this is how I do it. If I have an idea, I'll jot it down, and then I'll make it, and then I'll go check to see if they already exist. And then just to make sure I haven't accidentally copied something. If I've done something that's similar, I'm okay with that, because there's only so many ways you can do it, right? I mean, there's so many different permeations you can do before it all starts coming around again. It's like writing a novel. Like every novel's already been written. We're just all sort of changing the ingredients. So if I find something where I've copied it almost identically because it's just by pure coincidence or some subconscious thing or something, then I'll change it. But if it's just similar, then I'll just leave it. And then that's my thing is it aligns with yours. It's just there's room in the world for, I mean, there's like 12 different Nightcrawlers, like, and I mean and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That's perfectly fine.
And that was that was from a world where Nightcrawler didn't exist.
Yeah.
And now he does, and each one of those Nightcrawlers are very different from what the official Nightcrawler is.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, they've even we've even got a Nightcrawler Spider-Man running around.
Yeah, which is awesome. And that's the thing.
Yeah, that thing's really cool.
Sometimes the custom one is actually better than the official. In the times where there's been there's custom ones and then the official ones eventually come out because, like you said, there's like a schedule and stuff. But
Mhm.
quite often, more often than not, I find that there's a custom version that I prefer over the official version, which
Well,
is pretty interesting.
well, I mean, when it comes to like the official stuff, I feel like we can't survive without it.
Yes.
Um, I I feel like I do agree that custom designs are better in some way, and the reason that they're better is because they're not final.
Yeah.
Like when it comes to official content, once it's been printed, they make errata maybe, but like if something's just that's how it's set.
Hmm.
Um, with us, like we get to try it in a digital format, and sit there and test and test and test, and then even after we finished, we can still go back and change things and update it for newer things that come. Um,
That's a good
and
point.
that's mostly why custom designs feel better, feel more modern, feel more you know up to date compared to playing Spider-Man or Black Panther or
Hmm.
granted I
Well, that sort of brings us to the next question. Then is when as a creator, when do you consider it finished, if ever?
man um I don't think they're ever finished. There's a time where you just don't want to mess with it.
Yeah.
There was a time for me with Rek-Rap where I just didn't want to mess with his design. Not because I thought it was finished, but because I just didn't. I was just kind of tired of thinking about this particular design. And the biggest reason was because it was so mind bending.
Yeah.
One, I wasn't entire. I don't have the experience I do now
Hmm.
when it comes to design and playing that I did back then. Back then when I had it, I was like, oh man, it would be cool if he did everything backwards. And I just went from that thread, and that's what spawned from it. But a lot of the stuff when you're making designs like that, there's a lot of things you have to consider that you don't, and a lot of that stuff comes out during testing.
Hmm.
Like testing is one of the most valuable tools a creator has to find stuff.
Yeah.
Like
100%.
you put it through the ring on against Rhino or Claw, and you're maybe like 10, 15 minutes, and that'll give you a good idea of how well it's performing. I
Yep.
mean, even if it's not like, I don't know. For me, like the thing that hit the nail on the head for me, that Rek-Rap was a bit too strong in his initial design was with the go all out. Like I think first turn I was able to drop like, and this was back when his hit point or his stats were 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
So with go all outs, you're doing 5 damage plus a ready, and then you get to attack, and so between two and a 6 card hand size. Well, no, you wouldn't have six because it would have been 5 on the face down. I was doing stupid amounts of damage with that, and that was revealed immediately, and I didn't think about that. And even after I'd put everything together, I was like, yeah, this will work. You
Hmm.
know, um, so I think like a lot of this stuff is just testing.
Testing is so vital. My go-tos are Claw, Red Skull, and the Sinister Six. They're my
Yeah,
it's that those scenarios. Well, Sinister Six is actually my favorite scenario, officially anyway. But it's also just I think those three give a pretty fair idea of just how the game works. I mean, Claw's ridiculous endgame smash that he does, which is ridiculous. It's
yeah,
insane. And Red Skull and his side scheme shenanigans, and the Sinister Six is probably the best design scenario they've got. And it's just test until you can test no more, until you're sick of seeing your own cards. It's a
right.
must. And then even
And I
then,
mean,
even then, you release it officially to the community, and then immediately someone picks up on something that's like, oh my god.
that you just didn't even notice. It's like, oh dang,
That's happened to me every single time. Like just before I post it to the Discord, I'll check all the spelling. I'm checking the formatting, and it's like okay, all right, I'm good now. And then within 5 minutes, someone like Gold or someone will be like, this is wrong. It's like,
this
oh,
is wrong.
god damn.
Dude, bless those guys though, because I mean, shoot, if it were just me, I'd just be releasing all kinds of stuff that's just like, errors here, doesn't work functionally there, and not know any difference. So I'm glad there's people that come in and review stuff, because I mean that stuff takes a lot of effort too.
Oh, that's my thing. I have absolutely just absolute respect for anybody that takes the time to go and have a look at the cards and give her any pointers, and then go the extra
Right,
mile and actually go and play the cards.
Right.
Just amazing. People like Bubblegum. I can't say their full name, but
Yeah.
but you know what I'm talking about.
Bubblegum. Bubblegum is great.
Yeah, just stuff like that, and just I don't know, just it's I have the utmost respect for that sort of stuff. Just and like then the aforementioned Beryl, you know what I mean? Like where would we be without Beryl? It's just a simple thing.
We'd be so lost.
We would be so lost. So yeah, amazing. And yourself, of course. It's the help that you give. Very cool. You've helped me out on a number of occasions. I really appreciate it.
I mean, I do my best.
Have you got any? Without. I want to be careful with how I word this question. I don't want it to become like a popularity contest. But have you got any favorite creators / customs from other creators on the Discord?
Oh man, I mean, there's a lot of really really good stuff out there.
Yeah.
Man, anyone. I mean, really, you could look at a lot of anything that's in the creator pool. I mean, ES has amazing stuff. You already know.
Yeah.
Man,
it's tough, isn't it?
It's tough. It's tough. I mean, you of course have some amazing stuff too.
I appreciate
the H for Hero is probably one of my favorite aesthetics. Like I had to go and read that entire series after seeing your set. It was that cool. And Miguel is dope.
Miguel is awesome.
It's a really cool thing, and you have the multi-form thing. That's really neat. I think you did a really good job with the art choices and things like that. That one's really cool.
That was one of the ones where I made sure all the art was from the same series. Because otherwise it doesn't make any sense, because Miguel doesn't appear in any other series.
And because that was his whole run.
Yeah,
he
was
that
his
particular.
Run. Yeah. It was tough. It was tough trying to find appropriate art. It was weird.
And Carmi does some amazing work with his stuff. His stuff is very cerebral.
Very. Yeah.
He does a lot of really interesting, complicated stuff. If you guys have tried the new Bloodshot that's in the.
I haven't yet. That's the one with the infinite health. Yeah.
It's not infinite. So essentially, the idea behind it is that your deck is your hit points.
Yeah.
And when you cycle, you die. So it's very much a race against trying to use up because whenever you take hit points or whenever you take damage, instead of taking damage, it discards cards from the top of your deck. And it's really complicated, but he has cards in there that make it to where you can shuffle cards back in and stuff like that help you kind of recycle. And when you make recoveries, you recycle cards back into the deck, if I'm not mistaken. But it's just really cool stuff. He took the concept of Bloodshot. I don't know if you're familiar with Bloodshot as a character.
Yep.
But he took this character that is made up of nanites and represented it with the main deck. And it's really cool. You can set it up to where it has some interesting deck building and some interesting deck restrictions, because with it being infinite hit points, I don't know if he's able to use
endurance.
Not endurance. I mean, I guess that wouldn't really help him.
Yeah, endurance doesn't do anything. Yeah.
The recovery one might. I don't remember if it scales. It's been a while, but I just remember.
I did actually ask him a question about the one where he says where you've got printed 14 hit points, you can use this card. The one that gives you steady or something. Yeah, and he was like, why not? Infinite includes the number 14, so sure.
I can see that, yeah.
And I was like, awesome, done.
And it's really cool. A lot of his designs are like that, in the sense that they have an interesting gimmick. It's not just the straightforward hero like you would like Spider-Man is. He's got his defense events, he's got his attack events. He can't thwart. He's got a really roundabout way of doing thwarts and stuff.
Mm.
But it's all, very straightforward. With these, you have to kind of think about it a little bit. If you haven't seen his new Loki,
Oh yeah, the Loki.
the God of Stories
Yeah,
thing,
God of Stories. That looks really cool.
it's definitely interesting. I was in a game with it the other day, and I mean, it was a little bit touch and go for a little while, but man, it's interesting. Like it has setups, like setup upgrades that come into play that you can attach stuff to, and they have conditionals that you can use to put them into play or put them in your hand and things like that.
Yeah,
Um, and like I said, really interesting design.
yeah.
Um,
That's where I kind of fall down a
Beyond
bit though,
that,
because I'm not a very good player, and so I
yeah,
see
that's
these heroes that I want to play, like Bloodshot. When he first came out, I was chomping at the bit to play that dude, which is why I asked the questions. And then I just never did it because I went to go actually play. I always play a game before I play I do the video version, and I just had no
mhm,
idea what I was doing. I was like, I have no idea what's going on here. And I felt like a
I
moron,
feel it.
so I was like, nah, I'm done. It's just overly complicated sort of stuff. Although strangely enough, Rek-Rap when I played him, absolutely adored it. It was complicated, but I was like, this just makes sense to me for some reason. It's weird. My brain is weird.
Well, I'm glad it clicked with you, man. When I saw your video, like it had me smiling the entire time just seeing somebody see it click.
Yeah, awesome. Have you made any customs for any other games?
No, I haven't. This I When it comes to like other games and stuff, mostly this is like my first living card game.
Hmm.
I don't play a lot of tabletop.
Gotcha.
I used to play a lot of tabletop back in the day, but it was Magic and the mainstream stuff. But
Back in the day,
after
you're making it sound like it was like 20 years ago.
no, it wasn't quite that long, but
I remember back in the day,
but
we had to crank their
yeah, that was
cars.
like Tuesday.
It was Tuesday. So you played a bit of Magic then?
Um, yeah, yeah,
Okay,
and
cool.
that's one thing I really liked about Marvel Champions is it had a lot of similarities to Magic in the sense of with the deck building,
Hmm.
with the upgrades, events, everything feels very similar.
Hmm.
So it was easier to put together.
You never played Lord of the Rings or Arkham?
I have not. I
Uh,
hear those games are brutal.
yeah. Well, they're made by the same people, so you can see.
Yeah.
So for me, because I actually can legitimately say back in the day because I'm an old man. That's where I sort of grew up doing
Mhm.
so like sort of those card games sort of from the very beginning and when they very first appeared. Sort of I used to actually work in a card shop and my job was to teach kids how to play Pokemon and Magic, so that they would then
That's awesome.
go buy the packs from the store, right? So
Right.
they used to actually put me into like tournaments and stuff to sort of represent the store and stuff. So I sort of grew up with those sort of things, and so it's fascinating to me seeing the Marvel being the spiritual successor to Arkham and Lord of the Rings LCG.
Mhm.
It's made by the same people. It shares very similar mechanics, just but slightly changed per each sort of iteration until we get to there, and that's why I've latched on to Marvel Champions so much because of that reason. I can see the lineage that it comes from. Plus, also it's Marvel,
Mhm.
so therefore I've got to place by it.
Right.
But yeah, I've done like other customs and stuff. But this interview is not about me. This is about you. This is your spotlight. Um,
Oh man,
Cool. Well, that's
this is
pretty much
our
it.
spotlight.
That's pretty much what I've got. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk about your stuff and sort of highlighting the work that you've done. Um, I really love what you do, and I really appreciate all that you do for the community. Have you got any socials, anything like this, anything you want to plug, like YouTube or your blog or
Oh
anything
no,
like that?
no, I don't have any of that fancy stuff.
Okay, but you do have your TTS mod. So in the description of the
I do have
video,
my
I'll have the TTS mod link and the G Drive link as well, so people can check out your stuff. Any final thoughts?
Oh man, first, thank you so much for having me on, man. Like I appreciate you taking the time to interview me and feature my stuff. Like I like watching your stuff. When it comes to your videos and stuff, I generally check them out all the time. at work because a lot of the stuff I don't really. I have a lot of time where I can just listen to things.
Oh, cool.
And watching your stuff is great. Like I said, in the channel earlier, hearing you banter with people is great. Like it feels like I'm just hanging out, listening to some friends on the couch.
I love it. I really appreciate you saying that. Yeah, the banter ones are the best ones. I won't lie. I had I had like an awesome game with Joshy, Beretta, and ES. It was just like it was magnificent. I wasn't really paying attention to the game because I was too busy like chatting and stuff. But
Well, that's the best part. That's the whole point of the
that's the whole
game
point.
is
Yeah,
to help facilitate that community. You know.
exactly. It's the community, which is what I want to highlight. So, again, thank you very much for joining me. I will have a link to Manny. I did it right. Yay! Is TTS and Google Drive, and to the Discord itself. I'll have a link, an invite to the actual Discord. If you have any interest in making custom content for Marvel Champions, then please click on the link and check out the community. There's a heap of people on there that are just so very helpful. They just that's what they do. They're there to create their own stuff and then help you create your stuff. So if you got an idea, bring it to life, and here's the opportunity to do so. But Manny, thanks again for joining me. I really appreciate it. And
Anytime, man. Thank you.
You take care. And for everybody who's watching, please like, subscribe, hit the smash that like button, all that sort of crap. You know what I'm talking about. But leave a comment. Say hi to Manny for me. You can even call him Man-3. You won't even mind. It's fine.
Nope, not at all.
Leave a comment, and most importantly, of course, out of all things, is tell the people that you love them as much and as often as you can. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye.